This is DrupalTutor Live. My name is Wayne Aker. I am a Drupal developer, and I run Drupal training classes at DrupalTutor.com. This live stream, if you are new to it, is I'm building the new DrupalTutor.com, a new version of DrupalTutor.com, live on the stream. So we're going through creating content types. We'll eventually be creating custom code. Last week we created some migrations, and this week's episode, we will be continuing that. All right, if you have not signed up already, you should go to DrupalTutor.com/live. The URL here on the screen. I send out weekly updates to remind you that we do this on Wednesday afternoon, but also to tell you what I plan to be working on. And so, sorry, adjust the camera there. So yeah, if you sign up, put your email in there, then you'll get weekly updates and you'll know if I'm going to be doing something that you're interested in hearing about. All right. So again, I'm going to give my normal disclaimer. This is a live stream. I'm figuring it out on the fly here. What we're, as I'm building the site, this is me really building the site live. I haven't pre-packaged much of this. I did do a little bit this week, but so it's a lot different than the courses. So if you're watching this, don't think the courses will be quite as muddled and possibly disorganized or with me trying to figure it out. The courses are much more polished. And so just my normal disclaimer there, that the courses are much better than what you're going to see right now. But all right. And never is that more evident than what happened last week when we got really bogged down trying to migrate paragraphs and we had to give up. We ran out of time. So a reminder for what was going on last week. Okay, so last week we were trying to migrate content into the... Oh, yeah, before I get started, I should mention that the chat feature is open and I can see your chat messages. So if you have any questions, whether you're on Twitch or YouTube, if you type in a comment, I can see it and answer your question as we go through this. Okay, so last week we were trying to migrate blog post from the current version of DrupalTutor to the new version of DrupalTutor, this new site that we're building, and we were using the Drupal migration system. So paragraphs are really, really difficult to migrate. We spent a lot of time on the stream last week, of me Googling different blog posts, telling how to do it. I can confirm I spent 5 hours after the live stream. I spent 5 hours on Monday trying to figure it out. I can confirm that none of the blog posts actually work that you will find. Now, I will say our situation is slightly different because we are migrating these paragraphs from a Drupal 9 site to a Drupal 9 site, which is somewhat unusual. So because we're moving it between two Drupal 9 sites, it's possible that is the cause of why none of those examples that you can find on the internet worked. But I'm pretty sure that they didn't work because I tried many of them. And so eventually, after spending 5 hours, I just said, no, I'm giving up. But then I came back the next day and I said, I'm going to spend an hour, 2 hours tops, trying to write my own plugin for migration so that we can still use the migration system, but that I don't have to do that mapping of those two fields, which I'll get into here in a minute. I don't have to do it the more convoluted way that all the blog posts tell you to do it. So I came up with a new module called Easy Paragraphs Migration that makes it really easy. And that took about an hour. So I should have just done that to begin with but I didn't know. So that's an example of the type of things that we will learn together on this live stream. Okay. So, all right, let me walk you through sort of, because I have done some stuff. In the process of trying to troubleshoot that, I did do several things. Several things to try to that I thought were going to fix the problem. And so I created a couple more migrations that I didn't do in the live stream. And so I want to show you what I did. So one of the problems I thought I had was I thought the blog, I realized at one point that we had written this migration, and this migration worked, by the way. I think, this migration mostly worked. This is a migration that takes paragraphs of type HTML from the old site and moves them into our new paragraph type of text. It mostly worked. I think I had a slight problem here. The paragraphs are getting created, but the HTML itself, like the actual value of the body in there, it wasn't coming over. So I had to do a little bit of a fix here. I can't remember what the old one was, but there was some slight change I made here to get that to match up. That didn't fix the problem. That wasn't enough. So then I realized that some of the paragraphs, some of the blog posts actually have not just the HTML type paragraph in it. They also have the image. Well, I have another paragraph type over there called image, and they have that type as well. And so I think then I thought, oh, well, maybe it's because the error message was really cryptic, but it said like it couldn't match something up about the target because a paragraph has a target ID, which is the entity ID, and it has a target revision ID because a paragraph links to a specific revision of the paragraph. And so I thought, oh, maybe it's just saying I'm missing this paragraph that it's looking for, and it's not like the migration is okay, it's just missing that piece. So I said, okay, I got to migrate the image paragraphs over, and then this is going to work. It didn't, but like I went down that path. And so in order to the image paragraphs on the old site have a single field, which is an image field, and called field image, I think. And that's it. So, but in Drupal, your images are files, file entities. So you have to migrate. If you want to have, in order to migrate the data, the images are actually entity references to a file entity. So you have to first migrate the files, then you can migrate those paragraphs with the entity reference. So I had to create a migration for files from the old site. So what I did is that's what this migration is. So again, this is using that add-on module that we found last week for migrating a D8 site to a D8 site, or in this case, D9 to D9. But it uses this D8 entity plugin. And again, so this case, we're migrating file entities. And you need to provide the actual file as well as, actually, you may not have to provide the actual file, but if you want it to work, the file needs to be there. There's a couple of ways you could do it. There is a way where you could download the files. However, there's a significant number of files in the DrupalTutor system that are in the private file system. So they're not generally web accessible from just like this random dev stack that's not logged in to the website. So what I did is I copied these, and so I have a couple, like if we look here in DT web and under web sites default files, there is a migrated folder, which I guess I must have put them both in data. Yeah, so migration files right here, that under sites default files, it says migrated. This is actually a symlink over to another folder, but this is literally the files folder from the old site. So I copied that onto the dev stack, and I put it in a subfolder called migrated inside of site's default files. Then I did the same thing for private files. These are the private, under this migrated, these are the private files, that folder from the old site. And so I put those on here, and when our plan will be to just, I'll leave them there. Anything that gets migrated from the old site, they'll just live in a subfolder called migrated. We'll be able to use them when we launch. They can just stay in that migrated, and new ones won't go into migrated, but old ones can stay there. That's how it's going to work. So this file migration migrates the file entities. One thing it has to do is it has to change the URIs of the files, because those files now live in these migrated subfolders. So if I look at the process plugin that I wrote here, it's using the plugin string replace on the URI for each. So for the URI in the target database, it's using the string replace on the URI from the legacy database. It's searching for : / which only appears at the beginning of the sort of URI, and it's replacing it with : / migrated. So that's going to put that migrated in front of whatever it is. So if it was originally /thumbnails Drupal.png, it's now going to be /migrated /thumbnails Drupal.png. And that's going to match up because I copied those files into that same spot on the file system. Okay, and so then the rest of the fields here, they can just come straight over because it's already a Drupal 9 site. It stores things exactly the same as this one will. So I don't need to change any of these other file mime, created, changed. I can just bring that data straight over, and it's compatible with the new site. And so I ran this and brought all of the files into the system. This one worked fine. Then once I had the files, then I could go and migrate the image paragraphs. So this is similar to the text paragraphs we had last week. We're migrating a paragraph of bundle image, type image. Now, I'm not totally sure if this is the only way to do this. This is another one of those cases where I was trying a bunch of stuff, and this does work, but I don't know if this is the simplest way to do it. I need for an image field, there are several different sub values in it. So there's the target ID, which is the actual file ID of the file entity. And then there's the alt text, the title, the width, and the height of the image that apply to just images. Oh, one thing I should say is this file's migration, this migrated all files, not just images. So like there's PDFs, there are VTT and SRT files, which are transcript files that are used if you watch videos on the DrupalTutor website. There's like a little transcript thing where it moves around, where it highlights the text that's currently being said. That's all done with those transcript files. This is brought in all of the files, not just images, but including images. So back here we are the first thing I've done is I've pulled in the image information into a pseudo field. And this is the part that I don't know 100% if it's necessary, but this pseudo field exists in the migration, and you can reference it in other spots, but it won't get saved because pseudo field image is not a field on this paragraph type in the new site. So it's going to pull that data in for field image, and then I'm going to process over it. And for the target ID, and then I'm going to store in field image. I'm going to get the target ID by doing a migration lookup against that file migration. and the source being the target ID that was read from the original one. So it's going to, because the original one has the mapping of that file ID to the new file ID in the new system. And so those will be the target IDs. And then the alt, title, width, and height can just come straight over. So this migrates the paragraph images. Okay, so at that point, I have all of the paragraphs in, and they're all working, but they're not attached to anything. So next, I have to go back to the blog one. This is where it was failing before because I just could not attach the paragraph. So most of the blog posts out there, they tell you to use a pseudo field, and then you have to, because there are two values for a paragraph. Like I said, there's target ID and target revision ID. And you have to, there are a couple different techniques that people show you in the examples that I found online, but basically you have to break open this value and then, get the correct one into target ID and the correct one into target revision ID. No matter what I did, I could not get them to go in the right spot. The error message was always basically that I was missing target ID and target revision ID. It just couldn't figure it out. So after I gave up and then came back the next day, I taught myself how to write a migration process plugin. And so this is, instead of using something out of the box, we can create our own, we can tie our own custom code to any of these steps or match up sort of things that we need to do. And what I did is I created one called Easy Paragraph Migrate, which creates a plugin called Easy Paragraph. And it does the matching up correctly to those keys. So if we look here, I have field paragraphs is the field on the new site. Field paragraphs is also the name of this field on the old site, which is where the source comes from. And then Easy Paragraph is my plugin, which I'll show in a moment. And then it is actually an extension of the regular migration lookup plugin. I just extended that class. So it also, like migration lookup, takes a migration configuration value that says which migration or migrations should I use to do the lookup. In this case, there are two possible migrations that need to be checked because I have the text and the image are two different migrations. So they both need to be checked because some of the keys will be in one and some of the keys will be in the other. All right, so let's look at what this does in here. So here's my custom module. It's super simple. There's literally two files. When I think about how much time I spent on this, and then when I see that I have like 4 lines of code and it's totally solved, really should have just gone to this to begin with. But yeah, so we have an info file, of course, because you have to have one in order to have a Drupal module that works, it can be enabled. And then we have one plugin. So it's a little hard to see here, but this is in source plugin migrate process, which if you've done any Drupal plugins, which I do show you in the module development class, how to implement plugins in a Drupal module. But if you have to put it in a very specific place under plugin and then some subfolders that are specific to each plugin. In this case, it's process plugins for the migrate module. So it's plugin migrate process. And then you have to, it'll be a object-oriented class. You have to declare your plugin with an annotation. So this is the declaration for this migrate process plugin. From the examples that I saw, I think you only need to have some kind of unique ID. I don't know if there are more things you can set here, but this is basically all that's necessary to make this available to the migration system. And then this is just an example of like how to use it, but obviously it's pretty straightforward. There's not a whole lot to that. Now, I did extend the migration lookup. So one thing I did is as I was troubleshooting this, I actually went to try to look at how does migration lookup work? Like, why is it failing? Because what is it doing? And so this migration lookup is the actual, this is the plugin that we've used in other cases here, like this one, migration lookup. That's this class here. You can see it's declared up here with an annotation the same way. This comes with core, and it's doing a lot of stuff. I'm not going to go through there, but the key method in any process plugin is the transform method. So I extended migration lookup, and then I overrode the transform plugin. In the transform plugin, you get handed, the transform method, you get handed the value, which is the value from the original site, and then some other things, some additional, like this row has like more information about like the whole object that's been passed in, like if it's an entity or something. This value, in this case, is literally just the value for this one field. So it's in this case, in the case of paragraphs, it's an array with target ID and target revision ID and 2 numbers. So then this migrate lookup, this I actually copied from the other migration lookup plugin, that this is how you can manually sort of look up something. So I'm looking up in either of those paragraphs, I'm looking for the target ID that matches this paragraph. And if I find it, then I'm able to change the value to whatever the lookup found. So the lookup is going to return, like if the original paragraph had ID 123 and on the new site that's 888, it's going to take that, I'm going to hand it target ID 123, and it's going to hand me back target ID in this case, ID is 888, and revision ID is also 888 or whatever it happens to be. These values here will be for the entity as it exists on my new site. So I changed that value, but you can see it's basically like a couple lines of code, and I'm able to put these things in the right keys that I wanted them to be. This is the thing that all those other ones, they just wouldn't work. They wouldn't get them. You'd get a value with like just one number, which is not what you need. So I put them exactly where they're supposed to be and then return that value. And that's it. It works. When you run it again, it totally works. So yeah, I really feel like something like this should be in the paragraphs module, because it really sucks to do it the other way. And like I said, if you didn't know how to write your own code, I don't know, you would have had to just give up, I guess. So I really think they probably should have something like this in the paragraphs. But maybe it's not a problem for other people. Maybe because if you're migrating from Drupal 7, it doesn't happen. Or maybe there's just something I missed. But yeah, this makes it super easy because you don't have to do anything in your migration except for this. All right, there's a couple of things I did want to show you that I discovered about my migration debugging. So, and I learned these from that same series of blog posts that I mentioned to you last week, which is if you search for 31 days of Drupal migration, that's a great series. And there's a section at the very bottom, like debugging migrations. And I'm pretty sure that's where I found all of these tips. Okay. So first tip is there is a module called Migrate Devel. And if you install this module, you can then add this migrate debug flag to your command, and it will give you, and I'll show you a real one. It'll dump out the data as it migrates. So it'll dump out like, here's the source data, and then this is the destination data. So like after all of the transforms, after all of the process plugins ran, this is what we finished up with. And then if it is able to save, it will also give you the ID value. So like this helped a bunch because I couldn't even tell when I was like, is it really going into target ID? Is it going, or am I getting the values into target ID? Or sometimes, for example, they would be in target ID, but they would be in a, like, they should be like field paragraphs, 0. And then next level down should be 0 because you can have more than one paragraph. So there's a delta, and there should be 0, and then another array with target ID, target revision ID. But sometimes it'd be like 0, 0, like 2 levels down. This really helped me see what was going on. And so that wouldn't save, but then it would just give me the same error message every time that like, this is not right. This let me see why it's not right, whether it was just totally empty or malformatted or what. So you can use this. I'll show you what it looks like. Let's see, I have run this. So let me, do a rollback, and hopefully it doesn't delete my paragraphs, but we'll add them again if I have to. So I'll do a migration rollback first. And then if I run drush mim, and then it's, I think it's migrate debug. And, also there's a helpful thing here, limit. There's also another flag, limit equals, and then a number. So if you just want to do one at a time, because like, I don't need to see it fail 100 times here or 88 times, 1 is good enough. So that's a really helpful thing to know, which I didn't realize before because I've never tried to do, I haven't had to do a lot of debugging of migration. Actually, I should say what happened on last Wednesday and on Monday when I tried to do this is exactly why I sort of not have shied away from the migration system, because it's complicated. And if it doesn't work, then you're kind of like, what are you going to do? And if you're somebody like me who can write code, then I'm like, I should just write my own code that does one thing, exactly what I need. Now, after seeing how easy it is to write process plugins, I would not do it that way. I would continue to use the migration system like I'm doing now. And just anytime I hit any snag like this, I'm just going to write my own process plugin. And because that gives me the best of both, because this just takes care of the easy stuff. And then I can do the stuff that doesn't work with this very easily. All right. So if I run this, you can see that it prints out, like here is, this is the data from the source. So this is the original data. It's in the legacy site database, the currently live site. And so like it's got these field paragraphs, and you can see here it's got 0 and then target ID and revision ID inside of that array. So this is the way it's supposed to be formatted, but those are the wrong IDs because those are the IDs of the paragraphs on the old site. So down here, I'm not currently migrating all of these fields because I don't think some of them are necessary. Like I don't think I'm going to have a banner image and some of this other stuff that's here I'm not as worried about. So I've only migrated these field paragraphs for now. And you can see that it is correctly formatted with the single paragraph in this case. If there were more than one paragraph, that could be 0, 1. There could be more than that. And the target IDs are 2 different target IDs. These are the ones that match up to this content in the new site. and they're much higher because I've run this migration several times and rolled back. And so the IDs have gone much higher. A couple other things that I found that are useful to know about migrations. There is a debug. I found that it works sort of, it's a little bit hit or miss. Like sometimes it didn't seem to print anything at all, but let's see if we can get it to work. So if you have something like this field paragraphs, And you can put more than one process plugin on it. So you can chain these together. So if you have this, the first one does the conversion. And then what if I just wanted to know about that value? You can also do plugin debug. And I don't know if this requires migrate devel or not. And then, oh, it's a label. You can give it a label. I don't think it's required, but this will just print out so you know what it is. Like if you have multiple ones and you want to know what this is. I think that's all this is. And then there's another key, multiple true. I'm assuming it has some suppression if the same thing keeps coming up, and you can turn that off with this. I haven't played around with it a lot. But if we clear the caches now, and let me run it. I'm not going to dump out the full debug this time. Let's just run it, but we'll just run it for one. Okay. This error message is about something else. I don't know why it comes up every time, but it's not about this in particular migration. You can see here it says field paragraphs, and then it has dumped out just that one value. So if and you can chain this at any point. So if you happen to have, like, for example, I had that file where I was rewriting the URLs. Like if you wanted to make a change and then debug, see what the status of that value is, and then make another change and do it, you could dump it out. And this would help you kind of see that, how that data was being transformed as you went through. So that's really helpful. There's also another plugin called Log, which I think you just put log on here, and then it dumps this. I think it dumps it to the migration messages, which you can then see with drush mmsg. So I didn't find that one as useful, but I did use it a little bit until I figured out the debug one. I used that for a little bit. So yeah, so I think that's all the debugging steps that I wanted to show you. So let me just put this back, in its original working order. And let's clear caches. And let's run it with no limit just to get all the rest of them migrated. And then if I go back over here, now it's not 100% functional yet, but let me show you what's up with it. So if we go to a blog post, this is a blog post. I used to do like weekly or bi-weekly blog posts that linked to tutorials that had come out that week. There aren't as many tutorials as there used to be on Drupal, so I go around on the web. So I haven't been doing that, but that's what this blog post is. This is the image that went with that post, and it's in a image paragraph. It's in an image paragraph. So that part is working. I can see the image. It has been transferred from the old site here. It's correctly on this blog post, and it is the correct one because it happens to have the date written on it and it matches. So we've got the correct image here. Now you'll notice there's no text content. The reason there's no text content is on the old site, I'm using the Markdown format. So instead of like full HTML, I'm using Markdown for most of these, and I haven't configured Markdown format on this site. So that's the next thing I need to do. So I stopped there because I figured we could do that on the stream. So in order to finish this up, I need to create a Markdown text format, and hopefully that's all I need in order to make it work. Okay, so in order to use Markdown, you have to install the Markdown module. It doesn't come with core. So, well, let's get that. Composer require Drupal Markdown. Oh, we might need, I think let me just check. I think I think we need the 2x series, and it might be like an alpha or beta or something. Let's see. Oh no, we need the 3. Okay, so it's not stable, which is why it didn't come, but let's, so if I give it a 3, yeah, now it'll work because we need, the other one would work with Drupal 8, but this will work with Drupal 9. And so now let's go enable it. And there are some features that we have to do a little bit more. The Markdown modules, if you haven't used it recently, it's much more complex than it used to be to set up. We have to decide now which library we want to use to render the Markdown content as HTML to do that conversion. So in the past, I have used Parsedown, but I'm not happy with it on the current site. It's because the Markdown module prevents the filter that automatically links your URLs, that automatically creates links out of your URLs if they're in your content. It disables that. And it's supposed to be replaced by functionality in your Markdown library, but those don't seem to have any options to turn it back on. So I'm going to try something else, and hopefully we won't run into that problem. So I'm going to try Common Mark. I think that's like a popular specification for Markdown. I haven't used it before, but we're going to try it and see if it works. So it gives us the composer command we need to run in order to get this library. So let's go back here. And this is why I love Composer. So now I have to figure out something else is. Can we just put a -w? No. Even though it suggests that could work, no. So something else is in here and pinned at a specific version. So it looks like I think this is what we need. And we need at least version 3. Okay. So it turns out that Drush is requiring consolidation config, and consolidation config is requiring a specific version of this. So I wonder if I can use an older version. What version is it trying to do? Can I? Okay. Oh, that did work there. So there is a way to get an older version. I didn't realize this was but it does. Composer gave me a good error message here that suggested that I could run this to see if there's any version that will install. So this is an older version. It was trying to install version 2, and now it's installed 1.6.7. Maybe it's still good enough. Might need to clear caches. Okay, so I found it. All right. So now let's go to, so Markdown is configured. Let's go to text formats and editors, add a new format, Markdown, and the machine name needs to be Markdown. That's what it was in the old site. There's no reason to change it. Only authenticated users should use this. Markdown. See, as soon as you check this, you can't do like some of these other things. Yeah, convert URLs to links. That's actually the one I want. I don't know why. It locks it right down, which that doesn't seem incompatible with Markdown, so I don't understand why. If it's, as long as it's run after Markdown, I don't understand why they have to lock it down. Okay, well, we're going to save it for now. And let's see if that fixes, if that alone is enough to fix the content, or if we have to bring it back in. Okay, so that works. So now you can see this is the content of this blog post is now rendered, and the links are working. These are not the type of links I was talking about. These are not just, these are actual properly formatted Markdown links, not just URLs. Yeah. Okay. So I think that we have completed importing blogs. Oh, actually, we haven't totally completed importing blogs. We need to pull in, because we don't have their URLs. I actually don't know how to do that either. So let's just do a quick Google here. I want to migrate the path alias because I want these to have the same URL they used to have. And that's not true. I think if I edit this, we didn't do anything to bring over their alias. Yeah, there's no alias at all. So what am I supposed to do? Okay, that's too old. Okay, so maybe I just need to add path, because this is suggesting I need path/alias, but this is migrating from a Drupal 6 site. So I have the same format. So let me just see. Maybe I just need to add like path in here to tell it that it should also include the path. So let's roll back the nodes migration and run it again. Don't forget to clear cache here because we changed it. Okay. This is not going to be the same node ID, so let's search for it again. Doesn't look like it got a path. Okay, let's try the dump thing. We can try that migrate debug. So I'll roll it back. And migrate debug limit 1. So is the path up here? No. So that's why. Okay, so I think the path aliases are entities in Drupal 8. So, all right, I'm gonna try to figure that out. I'm not gonna spend time on the stream with it. We'll look at it maybe next week or something. It may require its own migration for just the path aliases. Oh, that's ugly. But that may be the way we have to do it. But we'll come back to that. Let's try to do something else that might work. All right. So let's try a media migration. So one thing that we need to do is we need to get the videos onto the new site. Videos in the new site are going to be media entities, but in the old site, they were nodes. So let's write the migration for that. Media, and these are going to be remote videos, I think is the actual type. We can check the TSD. For those of you who haven't seen the earlier episodes, this is a document that specifies all of the fields that are going to be on all of the entity types and matches them up with how things should migrate from the old site into this site, into the new one. Okay, so yeah, we have one called remote video. Let me just double check it is remote video. So let's copy some of this stuff from the top. So there's a question popped up. What does TSD stand for? Yeah, sorry. It's the technical specification document. It's usually paired with a functional specification document, which is like a Word document that says, that is the spec for how the website's going to work. And this is the technical, how it's going to be implemented document. So the FSD and the TSD, or the functional specification document and the technical specification document. In our case, we don't have a functional specification document. It's just in my head because I didn't write it out. But if it was working with a client or some other project, we would have that written out as well. Okay, so these are nodes, and the bundle in this case is video. Let me just see. I think I wrote that down. Yeah, it's video. Now we need our process. We have our process section, and then let's see, what is it? Destination is the end. Let's just go ahead and get this. So these are going to go to entity media remote video. That's what it's going to be on the new site. So they're going from node of type video to media of type remote video. Now we need to match up the pieces. So title and title should both match up just straight. Okay, assuming that I did my TSD correctly here, the body field is on the current nodes, and that's going to switch to a field called field notes. Did I create that? Let's just make sure that I did that. Media types, manage fields. Oh, I did not. Okay, so we'll add that field. It's a text formatted long notes. Not required. Okay. So now there's a field there. So we want field notes. And I think we have to do both of these. And there's two parts to there's the value that goes in a body field or a text formatted field and the format. So I think we need both separately. Maybe not. Maybe it would match up because it's coming straight over. But normally I think it would be like this. Oh, it's not nodes, it's notes. Format. Since these are exactly the same, it might not be necessary to break these on two lines, but I will do it that way. And okay, and then the next thing we need is the URL, which is field URL on the old site. And it's field media remote video on the new site. Now, one thing I'm not sure of, I think it might be field URL / URL or something. So this one could be wrong because this is a text field and this is actually this is a link type field, and they may have different structure. But this is something where that debug option is going to make it. We'll be able to see what that structure is. So we'll see. It's probably not going to work the first time. So I have these other things in here for duration, thumbnail, transcript. So duration and thumbnail, what did I do over here? So I have the transcript, but I didn't do duration and thumbnail because I think that media entities do something like that. They have that built into them somehow. If it's a remote video, that they look that up. And so I had some code that did that before, and that may no longer be necessary. So we're going to try bringing them over without that and see what happens if we get that information somewhere else. But we do need the transcript, which is a file. I've already migrated all of the files. So, and that included the transcript file. So field transcript. Let me look back at my example for the image. Yeah, I think that I can just do it like field transcript target ID because this isn't an image, so it doesn't have those other parameters on it. This is migration lookup, migration is DT content file. I think that's all I need there. Okay. Let's see if that works at all. So I'll clear caches to pick up that new file. And I should be putting, by the way, there is a dependency here. So I really should be coding that in. There was one before that I hadn't done, which this cannot run until after this one, that we have to have the files migrated first. So really that should be coded in here, which you can do with a dependencies section. And you can say all of the things that have to run before this one will work. I haven't done that on the other ones. I should clean those up at some point as well, but I can do this one here. Since we've already run it, it'll be fine. It wouldn't have mattered, but that would actually enforce it, so it wouldn't let you run it if it hadn't done it, if you hadn't done the other one. Okay, so let's try this with one. So we'll do drush mim remote video. Let's dump it out because, like I said, I expect it to fail probably. And we'll just do limit 1. Oh, so it failed catastrophically. Oh, did I do the dependencies wrong? Let's just take it out a second. Maybe I did something wrong there. Nope, still a problem. Let's see. Oh, I don't have the source here. Is that it? Actually, I didn't think I had to do that, but. No, that's not it. Okay, just making sure, because it is possible to pass it like an array like that as a list, but that doesn't seem to have made any difference either. All right, let's pull this out for a second and see if we can get the rest of it. Because this will help us confirm that at least it's that one that is the problem. Because we should be able to bring it in without the transcripts, and then we can come back and look at that. Okay, so it's definitely that one. I'm going to put that code we had, copy that into my, oh, guess I lost it. Hold on. I'm going to put this over in my notes so we can come back to it in a minute. Okay, so let's take a look at what it did. So it looks like it, oh, it may not have worked. No, actually, I know it didn't work because this is a text field and this is an array with stuff. So I think this has to be like, this needs to specify the URI key. And actually the body didn't get written either, but I don't know if there was. Many of these don't have a body. They're empty. So yeah, the body was empty here. So that's okay. Okay, that was even worse. Okay, so this is similar to the issue I had with the images, where I created like a this pseudo field. The thing is, there only should be one value. So how do I tell it I only want the first? I think we can maybe chain this. Let's just see here. So let's do process. We want to like get the first one. So like array shift, I think is one we can use, which is similar to the PHP function array shift. It'll slide the first one off. The source would be field URL. Let's do it with that first. I think that'll get rid of the 0 part and give us just this first array. And then we might be able to do something else here after that. No. Oh, sorry. This is plugin, not process. Okay, because of that crash before, I have to drush mrs reset the status on this one. Now I should be able to run it again. Okay, so we're getting closer. So you see now we don't have the 0 in the destination. This is where this like debug is really useful because we can see what it turned it into. And it looks, yeah, so we've gotten rid of the 0. Now I need the one item out of there. The question is, how do I specify that I want just that one? Just the URI, the first one. Yeah, see, I wanted, it's like I want get, what were the other, actually it just spit out a bunch of names. These are actually all the plugin names. So I'm just going to scan through them to see. I really want one that's just like, give me the item at this index. Oh, wait, there is a link URI. Let me see what that does real quick. No, that's not what I want. What is extract? Yeah, this is what I want right here. Oh, actually, it looks like I could have done the whole thing with extract. All right, this will work. Okay. All right, so we don't need to shift it. I think this extract should work. This was field URL. And then you give it like the levels you want. So the first one is 0, and the second one is URI, and there's no third one. So this hopefully will give me just the URI value. All right, so there we go. That looks correct. So let's see if it actually worked. We'll go to media. Should be whatever this most recent one is. It did not. Oh, maybe because it needs to be /value. I think it's a text field, right? Oh, no, I have the wrong, it's not, I have the wrong field name. That's why. So I have the wrong field name in my TSD, I guess. Yes. It's field media embed video. All right, let's try that. Okay, something's here. Yeah, I don't know why there's not like a view page for this. I thought you could view media on its own page, but oh wait, maybe it's because of this rabbit hole thing. Nope. Okay. So the other thing I see is this title is definitely not the title that I gave it. So I think I must have the field name wrong for that. So let's look. Okay, the title's built in, so it's not going to show here. Let's, you can see it in the database to see what that machine name is. So we'll go over here to the media field data. Okay, it's called name, not title. Okay, so it is called title in the old site because that's a node. So it should be name to title. Right, so now we come back over here to media, refresh. Okay, so it's got the correct name. Yeah, is it getting any other? It doesn't appear, like it didn't download the thumbnail or anything, which seems weird. Like if I make with this manually, does it do that? Like it may be bypassing its normal processing when I go through migrate. No, it like doesn't download anything. What other fields does it have? Okay, so it looks like it doesn't. I thought the embed thing kept all that, automatically downloaded that stuff for you, but apparently not. So maybe next week our task will be to port the code I already have that does that into this system, so that every time we save one, it automatically goes up with the API on Vimeo and pulls down that, because all my videos are in Vimeo. And pulls that data down. Okay, so there's a couple other things here, like author should not be anonymous, but it can just be the main admin. So we can just say UID. Oh, sorry, it needs to be UID plugin default value. Default value is 1. I mean, we could do migration lookup, but nobody else should have ever created a video on the site. So we have this duration information. Let's go ahead and create those fields. So I do have interval fields. Yeah. Okay. So duration is an interval field. And what are the other? Thumbnail, there is already a thumbnail field there, which, oh, well, we already have the thumbnails downloaded, so I could bring that in. I don't need to re-download them. And purpose, that one is changing because I think it was, what is purpose now? It's coming from type. And that's a different taxonomy. Is that a taxonomy? I don't think that's a taxonomy type. Oh yeah, it's just a list integer. So yeah, I probably need to think on that one, but let's try to get these files over, and then that might be all we can do today. Okay, so the files being field thumbnail and what was the other one? Didn't we have another? The transcript file. So let's try field thumbnail. I think we're going to run into the same problem we had a second ago because it's the same type of thing. Let's, it is an image. So why don't we try to follow the same process that I followed here, because this worked. So we'll have this, wait, I need that missed piece there. I need the pseudo field. And again, I'm not sure that this is the right way to do this, but it did work before. So we have a pseudo field that gets the value. Then we go through those values. We're looking up the file. And this is an image, so it will have these other properties. So let's see if that works. And those images should already exist over because they should have been there with everything else. Okay, it didn't crash like before. And there is a field thumbnail 7666. Let's see. And that should be different than what was up here. Right, it was 63. So it did some sort of translation. Let's see if it actually got one. I mean, it doesn't look like it. Oh, because the thumbnail is not called field thumbnail. It is called, because there is a thumbnail thing built into media. So is it just called thumbnail? Yeah, it's just thumbnail, not field thumbnail. So this one here, this where we're going, needs to be just thumbnail. And it's still, I'm not seeing a thumbnail. It may be that it shouldn't have, maybe it shouldn't have the, because thumbnail is a single value. If you see the way it's in the database, it can't have multiple values because it's just here in this one table with the definition of this. So it probably needs to be busted out. If we can't have this 0 in here. So let's use this extract thing. Maybe we don't even need this pseudo field. Let's try it this way. Thumbnail and let's extract field thumbnail. And we can see the source up here. It should be 0 target ID. Or actually just 0. Because we actually would like to get that whole. Oh, no. It has to be okay, so maybe we do need the pseudo field. Maybe we need to, but maybe the pseudo field should be extracted this array. And then down here, because we need to, we still need to do this migration lookup on the target ID. But do we need a sub process? I think we don't, because sub process is only if we have multiple items. So I think then how are we going to so then do we have to just break it out like this? Wait, because we need to use the source. It's a specific item. If it's in there, we need a specific sub key. Let's just keep it like it was a second, and let's just see what happens. I think it's still going to be wrong, but let's just see. Yeah. because once we extract, it's no longer an array. Unfortunately, it doesn't dump it out. Let's pull this out for a second so that we can see what that value, what that data looks like. Okay, so this is the right format, I think. It just needs to do the lookup on this one item. So the question is, if I just set it to thumbnail, can I then overwrite just that one part? Would be nice if I could just do like this, but I don't know if it works. No, I don't think that's going to work because where's it going to get the target ID from? Unless I can do another extract or something here. Not sure if that's going to work, but let's see if it blows up. Well, it didn't blow up. Hey, it looks like it might have worked. The target ID is much higher. Let's see what it was in original. Yeah, so it switched it. And it's in the format I wanted it. I don't know if that's the right format, but it is in the format I wanted. So let's see if it works. Still do not see a thumbnail there. So if it's weird though, because how are you even supposed to get the thumbnail there? Like do I have is the field? Yeah, see, there's no even field for it. Like it's supposed to look it up itself and it's not doing it. Is there like but it won't even, I mean, it doesn't have a field. I can't even put it in myself. Okay, let's leave thumbnail aside because there's obviously some special handling of thumbnail. Let's see. I do think that this same process could work now that we've got this. Something like this could work for the for the other field transcript. So, or actually we probably should do, that one could have multiple values. So we should maybe go back to the original thing that worked for images. Only now it should be pseudo field transcript. Okay, then we'll look up the target ID. These values don't exist for a regular file. But let's see if that fixes the problem we have with the transcript file before. Okay, so I've got something. It's possible not all of these have transcripts, especially the older ones don't. So we may have to run more of them. So let's run, certainly these ones from 2013 are not going to have them. So you can see I have webinar recordings from all the way back from 2013 archived on the site. Lots of great discussions about Drupal 7, I suppose. The transcripts on these, I mean, there are class videos. All the class videos have transcripts. And those should come up in here as well. But only transcripts for the webinars or live sessions only for the last couple of years when it's been possible to do them with computer, because I don't type them out or have anyone hand to transcribe them. Okay, so something's coming through there. So we can probably look, even while that's running, we can probably go look. Since we have the names, we can look for either a course video or a recent live session. Okay, so this is a course video. It should have a transcript. And it does not. Okay, well, we've been beaten yet again by the Drupal migration system. We're at 90 minutes though, so what I'll do is I will figure out how to migrate these files, and we will finish this on the beginning of the next one. But then we might have to take a break and do something other than migration, because it's really frustrating me right now how difficult this is. So so yeah, we might do something else, but I will figure it out, and we'll, at the beginning of the next session, I will have a working version that pulls these over. And then maybe what we'll do, because it would be interesting to maybe change up topics a little bit, maybe I will port over that code that that automatically looks up the Vimeo data and pulls it in. So we'll look at that next week. And remember, if you don't get the emails, you can sign up at DrupalTutor.com/live, and you'll get an email every week that tells you what we're going to work on. And yeah, so thanks again for watching, and we'll